Bunker vibes, late nights on the blind. Vet tail spin, watch the timeline rewind. War stories chronicle, PTSD unwind. Mic in my hand, artillery in my mind. HomeFront Sitrep, broadcast to the nation. Veterans voice, raw articulation. Grit and grind, scars of dedication. Tales from the trenches, pure revelation. Elders from the battlefield in the face. Podcast waves, combat scars retrace. Blood and gun smoke in that cold vast space. Silent night choppers, heartbeats race. Sit down, get close, the wisdom from the scars. Decoded messages, encrypted memoirs. Street wisdom stitched in stripes and bars. Brotherhood bonds transcend all wars. Combat boots still stomp, unmatched grind. Tactical rhyme scheme sharp as landmines. Salute the lost, every verse a shrine. Warrior chronicles, chronicles of our kind. HomeFront Sitrep, broadcast to the nation. Veterans voice, raw articulation. Grit and grime, scars of dedication. Tales from the trenches, pure revelation.
Welcome to HomeFront Sitrep. I hope you're in for a great show today, because I'm just a veteran talking about what's on my mind and maybe yours.
You can find HomeFront Sitrep on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. You can also check out HomeFront Sitrep's YouTube channel.
Buckle up, the show is starting.
Mic in hand, ready for deployment. Podcast feels heavy as the ointment. Veteran tales straight from the trenches. Pop culture splices, pulling down the fences. HomeFront Sitrep, stories that collide. Veterans speaking truth, no reason to hide. Gritty and raw podcast on replay. Decoding the past, paving the way. War zone whispers, bullets and bombs. Back to civilian ticking like a time bomb. Medals on the mantle, scars on the mind. Every episode another mystery to find. HomeFront Sitrep, voices from the fight. Veterans sharing dark, stepping into light. Real life saga, not some fairy tale. Truth and resilience, never gonna fail. HomeFront Sitrep, stories that collide. Veterans speaking truth, no reason to hide. Gritty and raw podcast on replay. Decoding the past, paving the way. War zone whispers, bullets and bombs. Back to civilian ticking like a time bomb. Medals on the mantle, scars on the mind. Every episode another mystery to find. Legacy 11X, story of Marines. Army anecdotes, Gulf War scenes. Vietnam echoes, Desert Storm sounds. Podcast chronicles, glory and bounds. HomeFront Sitrep, honesty is core. Veterans laying bare what they endure. From the front lines to the homebound grief. Episodes of grit, grind through the grief.
Welcome, everybody, to a Sunday edition of HomeFront Sitrep. How is everybody doing? Gunny, how are you, sir?
Good, man. Good. Had a couple good hockey games over the weekend. One game won, one game lost. So, yeah, I mean, it is what it is, right? I mean, it's a professional sport, and those guys are out there being paid to win the game. And most Cincinnati teams, they're not on a winning streak right now. So,
oh man. So the week was pretty good. I had that second knee manipulation. Can't even talk at the present moment in time. I had the second knee manipulation on Tuesday, and had PT every day, even on Saturday. So going pretty good this time. Like we got up to 90, 95 on the bend back, which is the most I've had since I've had my total knee replacement done. So, super excited to get back into the grind of things with the podcast, and hopefully normal life will come soon. But I got the chance to meet up with you and Mark for lunch the other day. What day was that? Friday. We got to sit down and hang out and chit chat over some grub, and it was fun, man. I had a great time. Anytime we get to see each other in person, it's freaking phenomenal. Give a shout out to the people that are watching tonight. So you got Muzzy 1970, and you got Heroes of America and Beyond. That's James. We're going to have him on the podcast soon. So yeah, super excited, man. The journey that we're going through. Today's episode, the Black Dog community, um, is from TikTok. Like it's real big on TikTok. There's a whole big veterans presence on TikTok. Hey, look, my wife is watching. Here, my wife.
That's not your wife.
Yeah, my wife is watching. Uh, hey, baby. And then we got Marilyn. Welcome, Marilyn. So there's a big community of veterans on TikTok. Like, I mean, it's, when I first started my TikTok journey, everybody's like, oh, you don't want to be on TikTok saying you're a veteran. You don't want to display the American flag. You don't want to do any of this on TikTok because they, um, because they're like, oh, people berate you and call you all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Well, when I started the TikTok journey, dude, I found nothing but love. And this guy, Sam from BlackDog community, is one of the first guys I reached out to and talked. I see Julie commenting over there. So Trevor's on here too. What's up, Trevor? From that's 22 too many from TikTok as well. So thank you guys for coming on and hanging out with us tonight. So I do have 2 new hats I want to display tonight, Sam, because this is one of our things. We always wear a new hat on the show that nobody's seen us in before. So
At least on the show, anyway.
Yeah, at least on the show. So the first one I'm going to show, if you were in the military and the Marine Corps. And I don't know, do other branches wear this one? The one I'm going to show you?
I mean, I like the Legion does and the VFW. I mean,
okay, so Sam from Black Dog shaking his head.
Yeah.
So in the Marine Corps, we called it the piss cutter. That's what we called it. So I'm going to go ahead. So this one, look at, oh God, I need a haircut.
You probably should have brushed that before you.
I know, right? So my new Marine Corps League piss cutter, because I am a newly minted Marine Corps League member. So kind of fits pretty good. What's up, Teddy Pike? How are you? So that's my new one. I'm super cool about that one. I just had my first meeting the other day, so I'm super excited about that one. And then this one, I will have to say, this is kind of one of my favorites. Julie says, "Buddy, that forehead." I know, right? It's not a forehead. It's like a 10 head, man. This one's one of my favorites. I love black on black. That's kind of one of my truck's blacked out, all the way blacked out. So this one is all blacked out. Oh, we lost. And then the leather patch is American flag, says veteran, and it's blacked out as well. So that's my newest hat. I'm super excited about this one. So hopefully our guests will come back up. I don't know what happened. And then Sam and I, we received our book from Mr. Tim Thomas. Fight, Flight, and Feel. This guy's an Australian Special Forces. This guy is amazing. Breathwork in Bed is his website. Let me see if I have that still here. No, I don't have it in here anymore. But Breathwork in Bed, you got to go check it out. His way of doing things is how the VA likes to throw medicine at us veterans. His is more the holistic approach to breathing, doing the cone and rod realignment and stuff like that. You got to go check out his episode if you missed
Dude,
that.
have you been doing the up down?
I have, dude. It's crazy.
Yeah,
it is crazy.
But I'm still getting great sleep.
Yes.
Doing his stuff.
And then what's up, Mr. Frank DeMith? There's another veteran author right there. That guy right there. Of vital interest. Let's see. Mr. Frank DeMith of Vital Interest. If you haven't got that book, you need to go download it, buy it, order it from Amazon, read it. This guy, dude, amazing. So, in the Army, they have the interpreters program, right?
Yeah. I mean, we have it as well. So
well, he is the one that started the interpreter program for all military branches. So you guys go check out his book, man. It's a phenomenal book. Sam, I don't see your camera down there. at all. So I met Sam probably about it was well over almost 2 years ago. There's his camera. I got it now. Last year, for and there's another great artist, Miss Betsy Ross. Her fight series is friggin' phenomenal.
You and that word, I mean,
No, I love that word.
no, it is. It's a great series. I listened to all 4 books. I mean, I just posted, I don't know, the other day, last week, maybe, of the books I listened to, and you can see all 4 of her books right there in the center of
Yeah.
that photo from my Audible. Yeah, just great reads. It's that fact based fiction, military stuff, a lot to do with events from her life and people that she knew. But yeah, great series.
Yeah, another great book series called Fight. There are Audible books, so if you're like Sam and I, we don't like reading books. You can download, buy the audio books, and you can read those books. You can also go back and catch her episode. We get Willis at the forest. That's funny. That's funny. My wife's got jokes tonight. But yeah, so thank you for all the veterans that have been on the show. Frank, Betsy, if you've been on my show and you're coming back and hanging out with us, it's friggin' awesome. I thank you guys. Go check out their books. Frank the Myth, of Vital Interest. Betsy Ross, go to fightwithbetsyross.com, and download her 4 books. There you go. Marilyn says I have an autographed one of her fight books. That's friggin', I'm telling you, her books are fire. So but yeah, so anyway, I met Sam a while back from BlackDog community. We hit it up right off the get-go from day one, like most veterans do. And last year for Veterans Day, Sam did a 24-mile ruck march in 7 hours. And he was feeling it after that. I promise you, he was feeling that after that. So this year, he's doing something different to raise awareness of 22. And I'm going to put those in quotation marks, 22 a day, because we all know that number is very skewed. And so we're going to talk with Sam and see what he's got planned. So without further ado, let's bring Mr. Sam up to the stage. And I'm going to do this. Welcome, Sam. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fantastic, man. How you doing?
Man, if I was doing any better, I'd be living the dream.
That's usually the other song I usually go with.
Yeah, definitely. So don't be nervous. I know you've only done one other podcast before this one, so don't be nervous, man. This is an easy conversation, basically, we're going to have, like we would have on any other normal day, on any other normal live. So do me a favor, my friend. Introduce yourself to the world of Homefront Sitrep, all of our listeners and watchers.
So I'm 29 years old. Served in the Army National Guard for 8 years. Did 1 deployment. Did 12 state active duty missions. I'm the oldest brother of 4. My adopted brother, I'm the oldest one of him. My biological family, I'm the oldest of another brother and sister. Pretty much was adopted right as soon as I was born. My parents were praying for a baby. They couldn't have one at the time, so my grandparents were inside the same church as theirs, so they said, hey, our daughter can't exactly have a kid. Mentally, she cannot have a kid. So we have, little baby boy here that, we know y'all been praying for a baby boy, so would y'all like to adopt him? Took them a total of 2 years to get me fully adopted because, of course, paperwork is lovely. At that time, of course, at the same time, they were also trying to find who my father was, because he kind of was not in the picture at any point. I bless their hearts, they tried with $15,000 to try to figure out who my father was over 2 years, but it is what it is. I count my father, obviously my adopted father, as being my dad, because he's always had my back. He was an Army MP for 4 years, so He definitely had my back more than any man out there. If they were my father, would actually have my back. So I praise God for him every single day.
Heck yeah.
So I chose the path of the military. My adopted brother, he chose the path of college. College is not for me, but hey, I'm glad that he was smart enough to go down the college path because he's got more brains than I do. But yeah, been out of the guard for about almost 3 years now.
Nice.
October will be 3 years this year. So
Heck yeah.
been a change.
So tell us so when you got out of, so we were active duty, so we knew what the transition was for us when we got out of the military.
What we thought it was.
Well, what we thought it was, right? When you, because you were National Guard, you were home, you had kind of a normal routine already. But when you transitioned out of the National Guard, how was that transition for you?
So it's actually a lot different than people think it is. It's so National Guard, for the fact that you can leave your job at any minute whenever your commander calls you up and you have to go and do whatever thing that they tell you to do. Mine actually, when I was getting out, was right during C-19. So our transitioning period, usually there's a ceremony. Well, usually I've seen what the ceremony was. You'd be lucky if you get a handshake and here's your DD-214, and slap on the back and there's the door. It's pretty much that end. You actually turn in your gear for the guard a year in advance, which makes no sense to me because then the fact that you're still actively serving in the guard and you're going to be going for your last annual training in the field. So,
well, and you could get activated at any time, right? So now you're going to get activated without gear.
Yeah. So that happened for my company. I don't know if that was the same for every National Guard unit out there, but that's how mine was. And I kind of gave them some grief for that, just a little bit though, because that made no sense, especially for somebody that was an active NCO but without having the stripes, and because I didn't have the full credited credits to get it. They gave me a acting corporal sergeant rank and got out as E4. So yeah, that's fantastic. So pretty much for the guard though, when you're supposed to get out, typically there's that ceremony. Well, of course, as we all know and read the articles of what was going on towards C-19 going on there, my unit especially were one of the ones that mandatory the C-19. I didn't care about wearing a mask. I could wear a mask any day of the week. Don't mind that whatsoever. But I'm not going to do is, of course, get that when I don't believe in it, and that's my own personal choice. So I told them respectfully, I will wear a mask. I'm going to be getting out in 2 months. So what's the point of me getting it? They left me. They pretty much told me to stay in the rear. So I was like, cool. I don't care. I'll do whatever kind of cleanup duty you got for me inside the armory. I have no problem with that whatsoever. Mine was not even kind of ceremonial. It was me and my sergeant. And he handed me my TD-214 and said, thanks for your service, bud. Here's the door.
Yeah, that's crazy.
My mailman delivered my DD-214. I mean, and not only that, my retirement certificate, the letters from, the president, the commandant, the sergeant major, the Marine Corps, all that came by the mailman.
I didn't even get that.
I did 14 plus years of active duty and got medically retired, and I got nothing leaving. So, I mean, at least you got a handshake and a good job. I didn't even get that. I got, hey, your orders are in, you're leaving by.
Well, for the Army, the Army is a little different. The paper they give you for your T-214 is the memo paperwork.
Oh, yeah.
It took them 2 years. 2 years after I ever got out of inactive reserve to send me my DD-214, and 6 months later, my paperwork for inactive reserve retirement out of there. I was like, okay, so what am I supposed to do with this?
Yeah, so like Gunny said, we had our DD-214s mailed to us. So when I got out, I got out the first time after 4 years, 2 months. My last 30 days or my last 60 days, because I had terminal. 30 days prior to terminal, I started turning in all my gear and doing the checklist. They give you a checklist. You got to go through, do all this checklist. And then once everything, the gear was the last thing I turned in. Like it was the last thing I turned in, just in case something broke off. And then I went on terminal leave, and I guess it was probably 2-3 weeks into that terminal leave, I got my DD 214, and then my official EAS date was September 1st, and then I got orders for individual ready reserves, which is the inactive, and showed me where my reserve station was at, which was outside of Cincinnati, that I had to go report to once a year. So I had to go report, and then of course 9/11 happened and got recalled back in. But so when you got out of the National Guard, like you were officially done, your sergeant slapped you on your back, said, "Hey, have a good life." Was there anything that, like most veterans, we lose that sense of camaraderie, that sense of purpose? Did you lose that sense of purpose, that sense of camaraderie when he slapped you on your back and said, "Hey, you're done"?
That pretty much happened after my deployment. I could say that because I came back to most of my guys that I served with were not there anymore. Either some of them, a handful of them got out or got promoted, got sent to a different unit. The ones I personally served with, unfortunately, are not here anymore. So that hurt quite a bit. Still to deal with that because as soon as I came back from my deployment, immediately we got activated for the hurricane that happened down in Texas and also the Virgin Islands. That hurt specifically because I didn't have those guys being there as being my support, and that was their support. I had nobody to lean on. My leadership knew that I was basically like a firecracker ready to go off because there was nothing they could do to help me, and I couldn't help myself. I tried therapy. Obviously, we all know how therapy works out with them. So how are you doing today? How are you feeling? What's going on inside your mind? I don't need to hear those questions. So it moved on to the state of duty mission for that end. And of course, coming right out of a deployment, you want to have some time to try to cope, figure out what's going on in your mind, figure out how to deal with stuff. I got sent to the Virgin Islands initially. And I'll tell people this right now. If you've ever seen pictures of what the Caribbean looks like and whatnot, beautiful places to go to vacation, that's what that looked like. And then a second later, it was buried in about 3.5 feet of water. Yeah. There was nothing there. And that was completely up on land. I mean, halfway inland, it was 3 feet of water. So there's nothing there anymore. Having to go do search and rescue, that was beyond painful to do. And then spending a month and a half there, and they didn't even give us accommodations. They piled 1,000 people inside one cruise liner that was not even fit to be a cruise liner for normal people because there's nowhere that we could actually be like sitting inside the actual place. Yeah. So that immediately, of course, developed into a month and a half being there. Nowhere to wash your clothes. We used 550 cord as clothes hangers to make sure we could actually have some somewhat dry clothes to go back in there and start doing everything we need to do. This got sent immediately to Texas where the hurricane hit not even 50 miles away from where my grandparents and my brother and sister lived and my uncle that were on my side of the family. They could have had their entire house swamped and completely all the way up to the roof with water. They were lucky they only got 1.5 feet of water hit where their area was at. So that hurt especially for the fact that it was the town that my grandparents lived in and grew up in their entire life. And then me, of course, spending time there to understand where they lived at, and obviously spending more time there to be able to, anytime I could, to spend time with them and learn about the area and learn where my brother and my sister grew up in too. Having to take search and rescue out of there as well. And then pretty much on average, a state active duty mission was having for me every 6 months for 12 missions in 8 years. It doesn't exactly help anything. And it just keeps on piling time and time again that by the time that my last buddy, it'd be 6 years, 6 years this April that he was part of the 22 now. When that happened, that was my last sense of any kind of purpose or mission being inside the military, being here anymore. So that part right there, especially for the fact of getting pat on the back, that was pretty much the pinnacle of I don't want to be here anymore.
Mm.
And that led down to a series of 2 times of trying. Try with alcohol. Well, that didn't work. Apparently I found I have a very strong, tolerance to it. So spent more than I could be to get anything out of it. So
Yeah.
reckless decisions. Well, I'm a redneck, so I mean reckless decisions we're having on a daily basis. So that doesn't really count.
Hey, y'all, watch this. Hold my bird.
Pretty much, yeah. that was a daily occurrence with me, and people were always sitting there going, "Sam, what is your problem?" I don't know. I don't have any brains right there. Okay, the brains I was issued to got taken away from me by the army, so I got you get see what you see is what I got left.
Oh,
so yeah, that pretty much transitioned to the 2 times where I will say right now to people that cannot listen to that kind of stuff. Trigger warning: this is your time to tune off for a minute. I chose a revolver, and I chose the second time a 12 gauge shotgun because I knew pump shotgun and a revolver do not jam, or not jam as easily. I tried the first time, and I realized a 38 is not going to do anything except for keep me here and me being inside a wheelchair. So that inside my mind was a no-go. Not even a year later, that's when I tried the 12 gauge. I don't usually talk about, of course, this kind of end because no veteran especially likes to talk about it, nor do we like to be vulnerable and have anybody hear it. But this is the reason why, like you said in the intro, this is the reason why for Mission 22 is why it's so big for me, is because I almost was not here. 22 Too Many that's down there, Trevor, he's the one who made this hoodie and made his own things for 22 a day. That helped me be such an encouragement to me that when that day happened and I pulled that trigger, all I heard was click. I could see the shell right down the barrel. Nothing happened. Moved the barrel 4 inches away to my right side of my head. 4-inch hole right to my backside of my wall.
Oh.
That was the wake-up call for about 5 seconds. And then a message came through on Facebook Messenger. Hey, bud, I don't know what's going on with you, but I hope this video helps you out, man. Love you. The video came from Grunt Style, which is almost 10 years old now, and I encourage everybody to look it up on YouTube. It's called The Spartan Pledge. That video right there, they started talking about the Spartan Pledge first, which said, I will not take my own life by my own hand till I talk to my battlefield first. My mission is to find a mission to help my warfighter family. That was a moment where I realized the military, I had the mission. We all had the mission every single day. We all had a purpose of why we decided to join the military, whatever branch we decided to join in. However many years it was, 6 months, 2 years, 1 year, 20 years. We all had a purpose to be there. And whether it was for college, or serving your country, or for trying to, make a better life for yourself, leadership for yourself, financial, stability for you and your family, anything. There's your purpose that you had. My purpose was gone. And as soon as I saw that video, that immediately set the whole premise of what is my mission in my life? I don't have one anymore. So what do I need to do?
Yeah, you had to refocus.
Yeah. 90 and 30 seconds later, I got a call from a local veteran inside my own community telling me he was having thoughts and almost tried. As veterans, we all have a dark sense of humor. I immediately looked at him and said, hey, bud, funny thing you say that. I just tried. And of course, you hear the same, expression that everybody else would hear. You, man, you're one of the happiest people I know. Why are you trying to go out? And I explained to him my situation, and he looked at me like, man, I feel like my problems don't even matter at this point. Like, the hell, like, I'm shocked of words.
Yeah.
And of course, I told him, well, you know what? I just got this video. Hey, let me share it with you. And that started the whole thing where he just sat there and looked at me like, dude, I got to find what this mission is then too. I was like, I got to try to figure out what my mission is too, man. I don't know what it is, but I got to figure out what it is.
Yeah.
And
So
that led down the whole series of events of another veteran reached out not even 30 seconds after I got him help and got him the video. That immediately, of course, helped another veteran out with that same video. And then immediately, of course, after that phone call was done, that's when it led to me feeling an impact on my heart, which was you found your calling. You found what your mission was. And I immediately sat there and went, okay, I know where this is calling from. God, I hear you. I hear what you're saying to me, man. All right,
Yeah.
I'm going to find what my mission is.
Yeah, and that happens quite a bit. I've heard several stories from some veterans that almost become part of the 22 that they go to do what they're going to do, and you know, the bullet don't go off or whatnot. And my buddy Ty Cobb from Triple Threat Vet podcast said, "God ain't done with you yet, homie." That's what he said there. And then he went through and he also posted the link for the Spartan Pledge right there on the screen right now. It's also in the chat comments there. So I'm thankful that you're here to share your story with us, because man, you got a powerful story. And the way I look at it, when it comes to telling your story, the more you tell it, the more easier it gets on you. But also, you're telling it to the masses out there, and you could be in front of a group of 40 people, and one or two people might come up to you and say, "Hey, man, what you said really, really touched me." But it's the other 35 people that it touched that didn't come up and say, because somebody in that crowd might be thinking, "Hey, I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna become 22." So thank you for telling your story, because it's very powerful, very, very powerful. So here you are. True, my husband is 20. Oh, sorry to hear that, Marilyn. So Marilyn, my husband is part of the 22 a day. Sorry to hear that, Marilyn. When we as veterans, we're all hanging out and we're telling our stories, because me and Sam are gunning. We talk about this all the time. We as veterans, we're more apt to talk to a complete stranger about our struggles, our demons. Why are we not readily accessible to talk to the ones we love the most? Like my wife upstairs don't know half the stuff that I've seen. Doing this podcast over the course of 2 years, she's learned a lot about me in that 2 years. So we need to break that stigma, that we need to be able to talk to the ones we love the most, and also complete strangers. We need to be an ear. We talk about it all the time, me and Gunny, and on this podcast, hashtag be someone stranger. That's one of our mottos here on the podcast. Be that stranger for somebody. Don't try to fix what's going on, but be that ear for them. It could be a 5-minute conversation, could be a 5-hour conversation. You just got to be ready for that conversation. So BlackDog community, you didn't start the BlackDog community. You had a friend. So tell that story about your friend.
So I would say probably in November to December of not this past year for 2024, but in 2023, they, of course, were all looking at the stories and the whole articles and whatnot of the war of Ukraine and Russia, and then Israel and Palestine. And of course, as anybody that's on the media that can see it out here, we all see what the media wants us to see. Well, she wanted to look up the backwater stories. She wanted to find the nitty-gritty stuff, which, no offense to her, but as being a civilian, I don't want anybody to read those stories. I don't want anybody to find those stories, because a lot of those stories come from firsthand accounts, which means any of us that have ever seen any of that kind of stuff and experienced it firsthand and had to do some of those actions, those are some of the stories that we bury, that we don't want other people to hear or see. When that stuff happened, of course, I asked her and I told her respectfully, don't go down that path. Don't go down that path. Please, for the love of everything, do not go down that path. She didn't want to listen. By her own accord, she got her own self of PTSD a little bit, messed her up pretty good for about a month and a half. She developed her own problems with everything, and she didn't reach out as much. But I told her, I'm here to help you, but you got to learn how, to help yourself as well a little bit in this end too. No offense to you, but you did bring this upon yourself. I did give you this warning. She, of course, didn't really react to it as much. So in January of last year, she ended up giving me the keys to the BlackDog community on a Discord server, as well as for everything that involved the BlackDog community. I, of course, at that time, I was getting my back right tooth pulled out of my head because I ended up having a bad cavity. Well, I couldn't exactly talk that much to people about it. It is what it is. So I was in recovery for that entire month while having this Discord server. Had no idea how to run this thing. Had no idea what to do with it. No idea what I was going to do with it whatsoever. I, of course, got into a Mumsy that's down there knows I was involved inside a very bad emotional domestic abuse relationship for about 11 and a half months. That followed from immediately as I got handed over BlackDog community. Up until about the middle of July to the first beginning of August, that relationship, of course, had a very big impact on BlackDog that I was not able to get out the word for it of what I was trying to do. So at that time, right as I was figuring out what I was going to do for the Ruck March that you mentioned, I got asked by a veteran friend of mine that knew that I had gotten BlackDog and knew what I was trying to do with it by having the mission statement of BlackDog and sitting here going, well, what are you going to do with it? You just kind of been sitting here for the last almost 8 months. You're going to do anything with it? I had to think very hardly on it of, is this relationship going to be keeping me from doing what I want to do and what I need to do? And the toxicity level of that lady was, I don't even call her a lady, but it was just immense. I mean, trying to basically make the whole argument of either you or the military. And I served. You can't exactly take away the military from me. That ain't going to happen. Right. So I decided to put my foot down regardless of what she said. And I saw the numbers at that time where obviously for everything that's going on TikTok for 22 a day, YouTube 22 a day. And I sat there and went, you know what? I know about these numbers because, of course, being was part of that number, it was a huge thing for me. I had to do the hard part that nobody likes to do, research. And at that time, the numbers that I found by a place called organization called Operation HomeFront, Operation Deep Dive, they did with a veterans organization and 2 colleges to try to find how many numbers there were to give an accurate reading more than the VA could. They estimated that 40 to 44 a day was a number. And that was, of course, during July through September of last year. Lita, not even the beginning of this month, gave me an even more daunting number, that now the number has been between 58 to 60, and that's just veterans. That's not including active duty or the entirety of first responders. All of those combined is between 100 to 120 a day, which is beyond insane to think of.
Oh, yeah.
That right there made the catalyst for what I wanted to do by trying to do a Ruck March, because Mission 22 that's actually on Facebook, I can get into whole things every single month of, they have this different challenge to try to help raise awareness for 22 a day. I never was involved with them, but I sat there and, hey, you know what? I appreciate what they're doing. I'm going to do something that's similarity for me as being a duality. That for myself, obviously I want to help raise this awareness. I want to try to get this out there so that people understand everybody has a mission, everybody has a purpose. Even if you're not a veteran, even if you've never served, every single life has a mission and a purpose and a beautiful life to live it. And that right there was huge to me. That when it came down to that whole Ruck March, for me personally, it was the fact of, if I can complete this Ruck March, there's nothing I cannot do. I'm putting myself through 7 hours of pain to help raise awareness for this end. that most people would sit there and make a 24-mile or 22-mile ruck march last an entire day so that they don't have to have that much pain and suffering in their body, take breaks and whatnot. I took the necessary breaks, 3 breaks for water, to resupply on water, and for an energy bar, or to use a latrine to make sure that I was good to go for the ruck still. I started it at 0 dark 30 at 0300 to make sure that I could better get this done before 12. That was my goal. And if I can make that goal happen, anything at that point can make a difference and make it happen. So that's where, of course, it happened. I will say there was a developing event that happened this past month in December for those people that did hand me over the keys for BlackDog. But I'll just say this right now: I have no ill will against them, even if they had ill will against me. I hope nothing but for the best of them and their lives and their families' lives and whatnot. They got butthurt for a reason, that childish reason, but it is what it is.
Yeah, let's not go into that.
Yeah, I mean, but
Gunner, you've been quiet down there.
No, I'm listening, man. And I saw a comment earlier that we don't want to bother. I think it was Maryland. We don't want to bother them. For a lot of us, we're told for a very long time that there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. It's all in your head, right? So post-traumatic stress, traumatic brain injury, yeah, it's definitely in your head, right? And for a lot of us, we don't come to the realization that it's okay not to be okay until sometimes it's too late. And if you look at a lot of the nonprofits that focus on the 22 a day or the post-traumatic stress or the traumatic brain injury, any of that, there's a lot of people within those communities that are taking their own lives because they don't take the break for themselves, right? You still have to take time for yourself. And if you continue to do compassion fatigue, mental fatigue, all that stuff starts weighing in on you. And then, a lot of people equate it to the post-traumatic stress. Well, for a lot of them, it's the traumatic brain injury, right? Because you don't know if that part of the brain that, takes your cognitive functions or the functions that make you realize that you're doing something wrong, and that's what's affected, right? So your general thought. So it's just, I'm just sitting here listening and taking it all in, and there's numerous, guys that I served with, guys that have been my teammates that are no longer here with us because they succumb to their demons, and for who knows why, right? You're never going to really know the true meaning behind it unless they leave a detailed letter or note or whatever to their loved ones. But still, there's still probably something underlying. And, it knows, suicide knows no race, creed, color, religion, rank. What we've had a guy that Willis and I served with is a Sergeant Major, African-American. And he's succumbed to the demons. There's a guy I served with, Lieutenant Colonel, white guy, prior enlisted, and he's come to his demons. So it's just, I think the biggest thing, we talk about it all the time, is just be an ear. We don't want to be fixed sometimes, right? We just want to get the demons out. My best friend in my world, my son's godfather, is active duty Marine still, and came in a year after I did. So he's coming up on his 27th year, I think. And we were going to a race, and I just started spewing all this stuff that I had going on within my head. And he's like, dude, I don't know what to say. I don't need you to say anything. Just sit there and listen.
Yeah.
Well, probably a year or so later, his little brother, who is a Marine combat engineer, gets injured. And he understands now what I went through or what I was going through to be able to help his brother and understand the things that he may go through when he comes home. So just having somebody that will listen, period, without judgment, I think is the biggest help for anybody, whether it's civilian, whether it's a first responder, whether it's the veteran, you got to, Willis and I say it all the time. You have to be willing for that conversation. It could be 5 minutes. It could be 5 hours. It could be 5 days. Just listen to what they have to say.
And see, that's the whole thing for my story is that Teddy Pike, Mumsy down there, um, she was the first person that I ever told about my full story. She was the first person that ever heard the nitty gritty details about my life. And of course, what I told all of y'all just now that everybody can hear is the hardest part for me to be able to say it, of course, was at a time where so much more stuff was going on that I haven't even mentioned that I could take 6 hour long conversation to talk about it all. That it was insanity for me. And that's
So tell me how the TikTok community has helped you um, in the last 2 years.
so prior to the 2 years that Lita has mentioned a couple of times inside TikTok, her lives. I had been on TikTok since it was Musically, so it's been a long time. So it's been somewhere between 6 and 8 years that I've been on TikTok. The first somewhere between those 6 and 8 years, for about 3/4 of it, I stay in the shadows because the military community, the veteran community, mil talk and vet talk used to be nothing but a very toxic part on TikTok. Everybody was calling each other out. Everybody was, getting mad because, well, somebody made a better video than I did, and views and likes and whatnot were getting higher. Petty things. And I stayed away from all that in because I ain't got time for that. And, at that time, I was just trying to get in a better mindset. And I stayed in the shadows up until about 3 to 4 years ago is when I met Mumsy. And that led to, of course, being a part of a small group that I was in that basically was trying to help me out. And I was the only veteran inside that group. And they wanted to give me a place to talk about my life and what happened with me and give me a place to feel comfortable and safe and whatnot. I could talk about any of that stuff and not be judged. It was great. And of course, as soon as I started the part of TikTok, though, of course, as soon as I said I'm an Army veteran that has seen combat, they immediately were like, "Oh, well, you got no reason to be here then. Like, your service doesn't matter. All the things you talked about in the intro." I ducked down in the corner again. I stopped talking about the Army. I started talking about my service because no one wanted to hear it, and I was just kind of getting hate for it. Until the 2 years ago, I started seeing the dramatic change. I don't know what happened, but it's like the whole coin flipped, and everybody was sitting there going, "You know what? These veterans out there that want to be petty and whatnot, they want to be their own self. We're gonna let them, just roast in their own section. We're gonna let them show their own personalities and let people see the real character that they are." While the rest of us try to actually build something here and actually try to help veterans out. Actually try to be, like you said, Gunny, to be that voice, to be that ear, to let people be able to have a chance to actually talk about their service and not be judged. And that's the greatest part that I saw was the progression from it all. And there was a veteran inside our own community of Vet Nation down there that she never saw combat, but she dealt with her own PTSD and her own trauma and her own demons. That's one thing that I was glad that they told me, because every single veteran, every single person in general deals with their own PTSD, deals with their own trauma, whether you served or not.
Yeah.
I have no right to, of course, try to say for me, mine is in a better or greater or less than yours. All of us are dealing with this, and why then can we not, like you said, be here to be there for us?
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that I was grateful for, is that there were so many organizations now that have popped up on there. I couldn't even fathom that. That's the reason why with Lita last year doing her whole concert of bringing in as many veterans as possible, as many people as possible, to give us that camaraderie back and give us a chance to be our stupid selves again, gave me hope that these things can happen, that groups can pop up on TikTok and on Facebook, Twitter, wherever, and be an actual space for people to come in there, talk about their experiences, and not be judged, but be an open ear for them to be able to talk about their lives. And that's what I'm beyond grateful for.
Yeah, there's a lot of great communities, and you mentioned Vet Nations. Every morning he's on TikTok, and you know, he opens the boxes and let people comes up and let people tell their story, you know, and they could be on there for, you know, a couple hours. Um, you know, and I've been on there, I've been in the panel and the boxes and just listening to people's stories, and you know, if people got questions, you know, how to navigate things. I mean, it's just things that we do to help each other and the community. Like when I first joined TikTok, I didn't know how it was going to go. Like I had TikTok, but I never used it. Like I just never used it. And then I started, you know, jumping into, you know, your live or Vet Nation's live, and the more people that I found, the more I was like, man, all right, cool. This is a platform where we're going to help each other. And that's the thing that I like the most, is that everybody within this community wants to help each other. You know, they're not, you know, oh, well, you can't take my vets. These are my, no, everybody wants to work together to help solve the 22. And I'm gonna throw that up there in quotations because we all know it's more than 22. So this year, you've got a challenge. Let's talk about it. We're running close to where we need to cut it in. So you got a challenge this year. So tell us about this little challenge you got.
So after last year for the Ruck March, that was mainly for me. And like I said, I wanted to, you know, make that as being a challenge for myself, that if I could do that, I could do basically anything. That was for myself. And I realized, as seeing all these different groups out there of what they were trying to do, I need to be more open. I need to be more of building this into the community of how can I do that? Well, I sat there and made it an open book for people to start throwing out ideas of what we could do for the community. And I reached out to another veteran of what I could do with him, and he was a bladesmith. He is part of the whole challenge this year. That actually Mumsy down there was the one who actually brought the whole challenge up, which is challenge 22 veterans, 2 per month, to get in the pie in the face. If all 22 veterans get it completed, and I'll say this right now for everybody to hear this too, regardless of 22 veterans get it completed or not, I'm still gonna do it. It's gonna happen no matter what. I'm committed to this. I will get a pie in the face every single hour on the hour for 22 hours to not only help to raise awareness for Mission 22, but also get the community involved of having some fun, you know, seeing, you know, everybody able to have fun and interact with each other. That being said, for as well, any veteran that the 22 veterans are going to be the ones I'm going to be nominating after they are done doing their challenge, they then can go and nominate anybody else. And I don't care how many it is. The whole point though is to try to get the 22 first. After that, I don't care if it's 22 again. I don't care if it's 1,000. I don't care if it's 5. I want to try to make this as big as possible for the community, not for myself. I want to get the community involved so that everybody can understand this is what the goal is. If this can happen, who knows how many people could actually be out there to hear a voice that they have never heard. Some guy out there in the mountains that have no idea about this, dealing with this kind of problem, and having no ear to actually be heard. And I want that to happen, is to get that out there to where he can be to hear it and know that he is not alone. So besides the 22 pies, Miss Kashi, Sunflower Queen, she has a project called Hope for 22 a Day, where her and her husband give out backpacks for homeless veterans, as well as helping raise awareness for 22 a Day. This was brought up by her, that if people donate $22 to Hope for 22 a Day, which I'm going to be getting that inside my link tree on TikTok for people to go in there and donate to, they will then be able to be inside a pool of however many people it is. It could be 5, it could be 100. For me to get waxed, getting a wax strip wherever on the body, and they can say where it's going to be.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Ow.
I didn't get that brought up on myself. That was actually inside Vet Nation's live. And she said that in there. So it being about 25 people, on there, and then whoever else is inside the panel versus one person, you kind of got no choice. You kind of got nominated.
I mean,
so
you do.
You do, but
You really do.
oh,
I do, but I also got nominated. So as being the president of my own organization, if I back out of that kind of challenge, that
True.
kind of setting me up for any other challenge in the future that someone could say, he ain't gonna do it. He's breaking his word and whatnot. I don't like breaking my word to people. I'm going to do this. It's going to be painful, but I'm going to get it done.
I got goosebumps just thinking about. I got goosebumps just thinking about where you're gonna get waxed, bro.
Well, that's the great part though, is that some areas, I have not made up my mind if it's going to happen or not, because a little more painful areas.
I mean, I'm like a baby gorilla underneath this. And yeah, I'm not too keen on that.
Yeah, well, it is what it is for me. It's going to happen whether I like it or not. So I'm just sucking up and dealing with it. That being said, though, of course, though, another guy on TikTok named Oculus 3 Knives, Rocky, he makes blades. He talked with me and he brought this up that he is going to be doing an entire 22 live with me, making blades, and however many he can within those 22 hours, within reason. I told him within reason, because you can make a knife in 3 hours. That's what he told me before, and he's done it. But that's not within reason here. We don't want anybody to get hurt in this. We want everybody to have fun.
Right.
He, though, is going to, of course, do the whole 22 hours by making these blades, and then we're going to auction them off. And proceeds from that, by his own option there, is that he wants to donate half the proceeds to BlackDog, because at the end of 2025, my goal is to get BlackDog to be a nonprofit, so that not only, of course, the validity of everything, that people can actually just say this is a real thing, this is not just me, not taking my word for it, and this is who I am, is that by that being there, I can be to help more people out than just by my own limited, ability, by not being a nonprofit listed yet. So that has been my goal, is that every single year I'm going to do something bigger and bigger if I can, if not, at least community-wise, to make sure that we can get as much attention out there for this as possible, which is also the thing that I told HomeFront about, I told Willie about. So for the whole 22 hours as well, besides all the different items that are going on, every single hour for a bare minimum of at least 22 minutes, if not more, I'm going to get, and I've been reaching out to as many nonprofits, up-and-coming nonprofits, struggling nonprofits, up-and-coming businesses, struggling businesses, or established businesses that are veteran-based and first responder-based first, and then to the community, to give them a platform so that everybody can be able to hear what they're doing, what they're trying to accomplish, what their products are, so we could all be there to help support each other. Because that's my whole goal.
Yeah.
Is that if I can't help anybody, and I know somebody who can, I'm gonna sit there and go, all right, Gunny, I can't tell you that I can help you out, but give me a few minutes. I can go to Will and say, hey, do you got this kind of resources that can help him out? Yeah. If he says yes, awesome. Hey, Gunny, I'm gonna refer you over to Will, and we're gonna call it a day. I got no problem with that, because I want to make sure everybody can get the help they can get. Because if I can't help you out, I'm going to tell you right to your face, I can't help you out. But I might know somebody who does.
Right.
And that's the whole point of this whole thing.
So the first veteran, or the first two veterans that you challenged a pie in the face to, have they completed the challenge?
So Rhonda she did it live on Vet Nations Live, and I do have the live recording of her getting pied in the face. She got to go and meet him face to face because of her son's wrestling match. So that was in itself an amazing thing to see.
Who's the
Willis over here was the other person, and I had to remind him this past Friday, hey bud, you got a week to make sure you can get this done. Just wanted to let you know.
All right. So I did forget. Like I saw the TikTok and I did forget, and he did have to remind me.
Hey, that's fine.
So without further ado, hey, it's Willis from HomeFront Sitrep. I was challenged from Sam from BlackDog community to take a pie in the face for Mission 22. So here we go. Who's next?
That was weak.
I know, my daughter.
That was weak.
You got like a little touch of something on your nose there, man. That's all right, though. That's all right. He did accomplish this. So your job now is to make a video at the beginning of February to call out your people.
Well,
and that's the whole.
I already know who my two are going to be.
All right, there you go.
Gunny Deeds is number one, And then my brother, Ty Cobb, Mr. Martin Ty Cobb from Triple Threat Vets Podcast. That's my 2. I'm calling you out. Pie to the face. You got to tag Mission 22. You got to tag Homefront Sitrep. If you're on TikTok, you got to tag BlackDog Community as well. You got to the end of February to get a pie to the face.
And I got to make sure that I get it on recording to be sent to me so that I can better make sure it qualifies. So I can let people know whether they're on TikTok or not. Here's the video that it happened. Here's the proof it happened. Next time it could be somebody else. And that's the thing I've been telling everybody. You don't know who's going to be. Every single month I'm making it random. So live in fear, people. Your name could get called out next.
Man, I love it. So I know Gunny's in. Ty Cobb already said he's in. That's my 2. So let's keep it going. So whoever's next on Black Dogs, be ready. Sam, I want to thank you for coming on here and hanging out with me and Gunny for this hour. It's it's always a pleasure to get to talk to you on TikTok Live. Of course, we chat via text message and phone call all the time, and I love what you stand for, what you want to accomplish, and I think Vet Nations and James and everybody else that we've built that community on TikTok, and you guys kind of welcome me in with open arms because you guys already had a platform, and we're building something amazing there on TikTok with Lita and Vet Nations and everybody. So I want to thank you again for coming on here, sharing your story, because I know that was hard for you to share your story. And dude, Ty Cobb said it earlier. What did he say? Let's see, where'd it go? Best advice ever. Just keep swimming. Best advice ever. Just keep swimming. So definitely keep swimming. I'm here to support you. Gunny's going to be here to support you, even though he's not on TikTok.
Hey, no offense, man. TikTok, I tell people this right now. TikTok is not for everybody. It is a whole different atmosphere that's on there. It's basically like a wild card out there of what you could get every single day, what you could see. It's crazy to see.
I love it. Man, I definitely want to thank you for coming on here and hanging out with us, man. It's been our pleasure. Hey, look, there's Sunflower Queen. She just showed up.
Oh, hey, hey, Kashi.
So I'm waiting on her to get back with me because she's going to be on the podcast. I've already got 420 scheduled to be on the podcast. So I'm definitely waiting on her to get back with me. Aloha just joined in. Aloha Blessings LLC just.
Hey, Lisa.
She just joined in. So guys, thank you for coming on here and hanging out with us. Sam, definitely thank you. I'm gonna put you in the back in the green room. Me and Gunny's gonna wrap up the show like we normally do, and then we'll chit chat with you a little bit more here. In just
Absolutely will. One thing I will say is that for anybody that is out there that is watching, for seeing Vet Nation down there in the comment section, as well as Sunflower Queen, Aloha Blessing. If you find them on TikTok, that you're going to find them as being that name, give them a follow, please. I honestly could not thank them enough for everything that they've done and helped me out and given me a platform to talk on their stuff as well. They do have a Discord server as well for any veterans that want to be a part of it, and anybody that's veteran, active duty, family member, widow, person in general that wants to support, show love, be a part of the community, and help support each other. I do a Discord server as my own. I have other platforms out there, the same name, BlackDog Community on there. That is, well, I will say, is on Discord is where you're going to find all the updates for every single month for this whole thing's going to be going on for the event of this year. So that being said, though, I do appreciate it, brother and Gunny, for allowing me to come on here and talk with y'all and share what I've been doing and whatnot. And I cannot thank y'all enough. It's a huge honor and blessing to me.
Hey, it was our honor to have you on here. Thank you again. How cool was that, Gunny?
Dude, it's so hard for so many guys, especially, to be vulnerable, right? And it took me forever to open up, right? It probably wasn't. See, I got injured in 2005, came back. Michael was born in 2006. So it's probably around 2000 before I even started opening up to anybody. And then, being involved with the nonprofits that I have, and I'm not going to say being forced to open up, but it does force you to open up. And he talked about getting out of a toxic relationship, and that's part of the growth for post-traumatic growth is you finding that a new relationship or getting rid of old ones, and you need to find people that are going to build you up and not tear you down.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest part for us as veterans or first responders is there's so many people that either look down on you for your service, look down on you for speaking out about post-traumatic stress, traumatic brain injury, the suicide rate, whatever it may be. But find those people that are going to build you up and help you as a person so you can help others.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, so I love the TikTok community that is out there. I mean, everybody that I've come in contact with on TikTok, and just to hear their story and see how genuine they are, that they all want to help each other, and that's what we need to help in that 22.
Yeah.
And for Sam to come on here and tell his story, because I'm like you, Gunny. When I got out of the Marine Corps, my wife knew I served in the Marine Corps. She knew I was infantry, but that's about it. I didn't talk about the things that me and you seen in Haiti. I didn't talk about that. I
Yeah.
didn't talk about the other things that happened after me and you separated and we went our own way. Um, my wife is still learning things that I did while I was in the military, and that's for one, doing the podcast. It helps going through therapy. Of course, my wife will tell you after 15 years of her telling me and then you kicking me in my butt saying, "Hey, you need to go to therapy." I'm starting to open up more. And the more I talk about it, the more easy it is to it don't eliminate, but it makes it easier to
Yeah.
deal with the night demons and stuff like that.
Well, not
Uh,
only that, the one thing that should be easy to talk about is yourself.
yeah.
And it's the hardest thing to talk about,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
right? Because there are things that I did in my career that, or even just my career in general, right? When you hear it, it's like, there's no friggin' way this dude did this, right? So then it looks like it's a stolen valor, borrowed valor type thing.
Hmm.
And then you find out that it's all factual, right?
Yeah.
Because my stuff's out there for everybody to see.
Yep.
It's since 2013 it's been out there. So there, I mean, even before that, when the ocean rescue and all this other stuff. But it's still hard sometimes to talk about me.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
it'll get easier for Sam. It will. He won't be as nervous, but there's still going to be certain aspects that it's going to be hard for him to talk about, and it's all going to depend on the audience he's speaking to, right? I mean, right now he's speaking to a bunch of you and I veterans that have experienced similar things that he has, so it's a little more comfortable for him to do that. But when he gets in front of a bunch of civilians that don't understand military service or things that happen overseas or even things that you see here in the States. Because we talked about it, a couple shows ago about how the National Guard was built and designed
Hmm.
to do stuff here at the home front, and they're seeing stuff here stateside that we are seeing as active duty members overseas.
Yep.
So, and it's hard for people to understand that until it happens in their area. I mean, look at the wildfires out in California right now. The people in Malibu never thought this was going to happen to them.
Right.
The people in San Diego didn't think this was going to happen to them. And now it is. They're losing everything. They're losing dogs. They're losing people they knew. And, that's a traumatic event. And a lot of these people are going to have, post-traumatic stress from that. And, they need a community they can turn to.
Yeah. So Ty Cobb up on the screen right now lives in Houston, Texas, from Kentucky originally. He's part of the Triple Threat Vets podcast, man. I love Matt, Al, Ty, and Scott. These guys are amazing. 3 Navy guys and 1 Army guy. That's a hell of a joke for you right there. But amazing people. Go check out Triple Threat Vets podcast. If you go follow them, go check them out. They're amazing, man. Gunny, I almost hate in the episode. I really do, because
I mean, this one went quick. This
yeah,
one went really quick.
it did go really quick. So this is you, Gunny, right here.
Yeah, you're not alone. You still have worth. You still have value. You don't let the dark days win. Everybody you walk by in the street is dealing with something you had known nothing about. Give them a smile, give them a hello, even if they don't respond back.
Yeah. Definitely, because you don't know what people's story is. I mean, you don't know what's going on in their bubble. And then we mentioned this earlier. Hashtag be someone stranger. What we mean that is be somebody's ear, because we as humans are more apt to talk to a complete stranger than the ones we love the most. So find your outlet, find somebody to be your stranger, or you be somebody's stranger and let them vent to you. And don't try to fix them. Just sit there and listen to what they got to say, because it could be a 5-minute conversation, could be a 5-hour conversation. So be ready for that conversation. And that kind of goes back into saying, "Hey, Gunny, how you doing today?" Gunny's going to say, I'm hanging in there. I'm living the
Living the
dream.
dream, and
I'm
even
okay."
even nightmares are dreams.
So I'm gonna play that commercial real quick. Let's- Just today, I've said everything that was on that board pretty much, and I'm still struggling with this knee, trying to get it to work properly. And my wife and kids are on me constantly. Hey, bend your knee, bend your knee, bend your knee. And I'm dealing with the pain, but getting there. Uh, I can go up to Gunn and say, "Hey, how you doing?" He's gonna say, I'm okay. I'm living in there. I'm hanging the dream." But you have to ask the next hard question: how are you really doing? Because that's what's going to get him to open up. Um, Down at the bottom, you see Heroes Media Group, Reach Across America Radio, Veterans Voice Radio, and Military United podcast streams. HomeFront Sitrep are proud partners of each one of these organizations. You can find HomeFront Sitrep on Reach Across America Radio on Thursday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern. The link is scrolling across the screen there. If you're listening to this, it's www.reaceacrossamerica.org/radio. Thursday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern. You can also find Reach Across America on the Audacity app, the TuneIn app, and iHeartRadio. So make sure you go give them a follow as well. Gunny, it's that time of night, my friend. Tomorrow we got Operation Horses Heal. It's another TikTok community that's going to be on here. They are a legit nonprofit that is out doing amazing things with horses. So super, super excited to have them on as well. So make sure you come back tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern. We will be live again, and it's going to be amazing. So Gunny, take us out of here.
Yep. And then don't forget, it is the last week of January. So we have
Tip
of the Spear podcast coming up Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern as well.
And that is, if you don't know what Tip of the Spear is, that's about 10 or 15 different veteran podcasts that have come together as a collective. The last Wednesday of the month, we get together and we talk about anything. No holds bar on the Tip of the Spear. We will have a couple special guests. Philippia Bagley from the UK will be joining us, and Tim Thomas from Australia, who wrote this book right here, will be joining us as well. So make sure you tune in on Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. Gunny, take us out of here, my friend.
Yep. And like we always say on HomeFront Sitrep, stay safe out there. We got your six.
Got your six. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed this show.
Suggestions and comments are always welcome.
Cannot wait to have another great show with y'all.
Don't forget you can find HomeFront Sitrep on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
Stay safe out there. I got your six.